You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. This is Making Tracks. Here are your hosts, Mark Newbold and Mark Mulcaster.
That's not true. That's impossible.
You're listening to Making Tracks. I'm Mark Newbold, and this is a very special episode where we dive into an Andor Roundtable with Adria Arjona. Now, Adria plays Bix Caleen in Star Wars Andor, which launches tomorrow. We're joined by Charlotte and Caitlin from Skytalkers, Richard and Sarah Wolowski from Skywalking Through Neverland, and Tricia Barr, where we all get to ask a question of Adria Arjona. So here we go. This is our roundtable chat with Adria Arjona, Bix Caleen from Star Wars Andor.
Spies. Saboteurs. Assassins. We've all done terrible things on behalf of the rebellion.
Cassian Andor. Don't matter what you tell me or tell yourself. You'll ultimately die fighting these bastards. Wouldn't you rather give it all at once to something real?
We've chosen a side. We're fighting against the dark.
There is an organized rebel effort. Drill down and get a hunt started.
You realize what you set in motion? People will suffer.
Time has come to force our hand.
At what cost?
Everything!
Every day we wait, they get stronger.
Let's take them by surprise.
For the greater good,
Call it what you will.
let's call it war.
People are standing up. They're afraid. Right now, they're afraid.
Star Wars Andor, 3-episode premiere, streaming September 21st.
I'm Tricia Barr with Fangirls Going Rogue podcast. If the Imperial Security Bureau was tracking your character, Bix Caleen, what would their files say about her and who she is as a person?
Oh, that's a hard one. You know, I've got to give it to Bix. I think there's something about her and even Ferrix, right? Ferrix, as a community, it's sort of abandoned from the Imperials. They sort of don't really pay attention to them. I think Bix is really smart. I think if they were tracking her, I don't think they would know as much as they wanted to know about her. I think they would have to go ask her themselves. I think she is incredibly smart and sneaky in the way that she does things. And I think she gets away with a lot. So yeah, I think they might have known that there was a comm somewhere, but that she was a part of it. I don't know if they would have figured it out. Also, Ferrix is such a camaraderie, right? No one's going to tell on anybody. So even if they tried, it would be a lot to have them find out about her.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm Charlotte Erdy from Skytalkers. So good to talk with you. I was wondering what themes in Andor resonate with you.
So honestly, so many. I think, this is a story about people, right? About people at a cusp of a revolution and what does that mean, right? Does that mean you step forward? Does that mean you step back? What is each character sort of going through? And I think everyone's moral compass is sort of being questioned. And I feel like in the past 2 years, we've been questioning as a society our moral compasses. And we're starting to realize that we all sort of, which we have been forever, sort of living in this gray, murky area, right? Which I think we haven't seen that side of Star Wars yet. We haven't seen what the civilians of this universe are really doing and what are they up to. And, being at a cusp of a revolution means that there's people that have everything in common, but also have nothing in common at all. Very much like in our own society. What do you do when there's a movement? Do you take a stand? Do you take a stand back out of fear? Are you brave? Are you allowing space? And what is your part in that? And I think everyone in this show, every character is sort of questioning that and trying to figure that out for themselves. And that is incredibly interesting to me, because I've asked that same question to myself in the world that we live in, and as I keep getting older. And I think Bix is asking those exact same questions to herself: is, do I stay as a businesswoman and run the show in this Sal yard and really get to enjoy what I've worked so hard for? Or do I risk it all for someone that I love, I know is in trouble? And she doesn't, knowing that it's at her own detriment. And kind of by playing her, the definition of bravery was sort of redefined in my head, right? You're like, oh, bravery is going out there and fighting and doing. And it's really sometimes just kind of taking a step back or taking a step forward, not necessarily fighting, or fighting even a cost that's yours. It's standing up for people that you love and admire. And I think she does that. So those themes, are really interesting to me. And the whole show really is just about people and what they're going through. And you get to see like a peek behind the curtain of what happens to these people and their intimacy. And why are they making these decisions? So it kind of doesn't allow people to be like, oh, that character is a bad character, or that character is a hero and that character is a good person. I think that becomes a whole different experience for audience members. And those themes are kind of exciting to me, and the reason I'm really part of it.
Hi, this is Dorian Kinji, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello, Adria.
Nice to see you.
My question, and you. My question is, Ferrix, it's very blue collar, it's dirt under the fingernails, it's hard-working people, and Bix is kind of at the heart of that community. But before the events of Andor, do you think Bix has ever seen anything of the galaxy off Ferrix, or do you feel in your heart that she's a local girl and that's what she knows and that's what she's seen?
I think she has, but I think, like a good Ferrixian, I think she's from there. She doesn't leave. She stays because that's where her people are. That I think there's a community and a camaraderie that is unexplainable that happens in Ferrix. And I think you get to sort of feel it in the first 3 episodes where people are exchanging information, people are exchanging parts, people help one another. And at the core of it really is Marva. I think at least Bix thinks Marva is like the queen of Ferrix and idolizes her. So no, I don't think she has left. Why would she? Right? I think she knows about everything that is going on in different parts of the galaxy, and she can kind of feel oppression getting closer and closer. But this place, like I said before, is kind of forgotten. I do want to believe that she maybe has traveled and explored, but Ferrix is her home. Ferrix is where her roots are. And then that also becomes a different question, right? Like, what then happens? Like, if she's got to go, she'll be the first one out. But I do think there's something that, as someone from Ferrix, you stay with your people, you stay with your community.
For everything in one location, daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video, and social media feeds, bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
Hi, I'm Caitlin, the other half of Skytalkers. So nice to talk to you today. My question was, we've heard great things about the completely built set of Ferrix. What was the experience of working on a fully immersive set like that?
I love that you said immersive, because I feel like that's the word that I keep using. I think when you sign up to a show like Star Wars, I imagined in my head when I first signed on that it was going to be a lot of green screens and it was going to be another style of working that I hadn't really done before, or it was all going to be in studio. And speaking to Tony, he's like the coolest dude alive, and he was brilliant. He kind of played it so cool. He was like, yeah, we build, Ferrix exists. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm still thinking it's going to be in the studio. And first day of rehearsals, I walked on set and I was like, this is a city. I don't know the actual measurements, but I keep 7 city blocks, and that still feels a little small. It was huge. I got lost, and I also was able to explore, like, where does Bix have a drink after work? Where does she go have her favorite meal? Where is it in Ferrix? And where does she buy certain things? And I really got to explore that personal side of her because I was living in Ferrix. I lived there for months. That's where I spend the majority of my time. I just went home to sleep. I was spending more time in Ferrix than I was in my apartment in London. So I really, in between takes, was able to walk the streets, and it had a specific smell that I had never smelled before. It was also outdoors. So if it rained in London, it rained in Ferrix. It just felt like I was there. So as a first timer in Star Wars, I think I got the best gift in the world, which is I got my city, which Bix is, like I was mentioning before, she's so from Ferrix. And you can have an idea of that, right? As an actor, you can kind of create it. But I think living in it and walking those streets and having your director tell you, okay, here's a running scene, run. And I go, where? And he goes, just make sure you go from the stairs to the main road, to Rick's Road. And I know where it is because at this point I know the geography, and every street had a name. So I go, oh, okay. But I'm like, do I go left? Do I go right? And he's like, wherever you want. Because it was filmable 360. I could basically be the owner of my own sort of narrative in that specific scenario, which was a running scene. And I just found it to be the coolest thing and the most liberating thing I've ever experienced as an actor. I usually have to create this in my mind, and here it was just handed off and given to me.
Hi, this is Guy Henry, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks. Enjoy.
Hey, we are Richard and Sarah from Skywalking Through Neverland. Thanks so much for joining us here. So it was great seeing you at D23 Expo last weekend. So
that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
So now, what is your big takeaway about the enthusiastic Star Wars fandom?
I was not prepared for that. I wish someone would have warned me. I walked in and I was like, how many people are there? He's like, about 500. And I was like, oh, cool. 500. That's that's a lot of people. And then I walked out on stage and I'm like, there's only 500 people in like this part. There was like thousands of people, which I guess people were like, we don't want her to get too nervous. It was nerve-wracking, exciting. And I remember leaving and feeling like those like butterflies in your belly and being like, oh my God, I actually get to put a face on the reason of why I did this to begin with. I've never been able to do that. You hear about it in social media, you feel people's presence, around and through the critics and reviews and this, or you hear fan comments on the internet, but you never see like faces. And that was just so cool. You're like, oh, this is why I did this show. This is why I've kept every secret about this show quiet. Because before I was like, I'm the worst at keeping a secret. I'm the worst. And then meeting everyone and seeing everyone, I was like, oh no, I'm keeping it a secret to protect your experience. And it all sort of clicked in my head. I was like, this is the fucking coolest thing I've ever been a part of. Like, wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
May the force be with you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Making Tracks. If you want to be a part of the action and stay updated on all the latest Star Wars news, visit fanthatracks.com or check out the free Fantha Tracks app for the App Store to follow us on your mobile device. You can reach out to us and send in your listeners' questions by emailing radio@fanthatracks.com. Comment, like and share on any of our social media feeds at Fantha Tracks, and be sure to subscribe, leave a review, preferably a 5-star one, on Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcatcher or smart speaker of choice. And as always, thanks to James Semple for composing the Fantha Tracks intro, Adam O'Brien for our Making Tracks opening music, and Mark Daniel and Vanessa Marshall for our voiceovers. Remember, tune in to Good Morning Tatooine. It's live Sunday evenings at 9 o'clock UK, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on Facebook and YouTube. And check out our Fantha Tracks Radio Friday night rotation every Friday night at 7 p.m. UK time for new episodes of The Fantha from Down Under, Planet Leia, Desert Planet Discs, Start Your Engines, Collecting Tracks, Cannon Fodder, and special episodes of Making Tracks. And that's me done for this episode.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's another episode of Making Tracks.
This is the fucking coolest thing I've ever been a part of.